There we go. So, hi everybody. This is really exciting. There's 32 people on this call. 79 people reply registered for the webinar. So I'm very excited, and I'll just explain to you how this came about. I have a membership group, and in the membership group, I offer a book club, and we have guest speakers and all kinds of lots of fun things happen in membership. And one of the things that I do is I do a coaching demo once a month. So someone volunteers to be a mentee, if you like, and I coach them in front of the group, and it's very friendly, like nobody gets picked on. And so Rachel Whitfield, who some of you might be familiar with, she put this ad in a chronic fatigue syndrome group, and I got so many replies that I don't know if I'll ever be able to use everybody, but I thought it sounds like there's a lot of people who are wanting help. So I thought I could do a free webinar for those people who, might not get to be in one of the volunteer coachees. And so then suddenly it turned into this whole big, nice event. So I'm really excited to see you all. And that's how we got to be here. And what I thought we would do is I'm going to do a kind of brief, short introduction, a bit about the work that I do and how I see it could help people with chronic fatigue syndrome. And that includes fibromyalgia, long COVID, ME. I work with people with all kinds of physical issues. And so if I say pain, just know that it includes fatigue and headaches and nausea and all those kind of things. It's just a generalized description. And then we'll open it up for questions. And I'll just admit right now, I am not good with the chat. So if you put anything in the chat, I might miss it. I'm not good with that. But you can, if you have a question or need clarification, please put your little yellow hand up, and I'm happy to get around the group and do our best to get to everybody if you have questions. So I'm going to start with saying that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically trained in any description whatsoever. And just if everybody could put themselves on mute for now whilst we do this introduction. Um, I came to be doing this work. I've been a mind body coach now for about 10 years. I've been coaching people for over 30 years. I trained when I was in college. I grew up in the UK. I went to Manchester University. And I I was coaching mostly from being a trauma coach. I went through a lot of violence in my early 20s. I was mugged 3 times and received a lot of horrible injuries. And alongside a big Hollywood career, I had chronic pain for 25 years. My pain was actually back pain, neck pain, sciatica. I also had IBS. I had chronic allergies. I had asthma, eczema, psoriasis, on and on. Like many of you, had a whole list of physical problems. And the weird thing is, I never saw myself as a sick person. I just had this continuing revolving door of many different physical issues. And it started as a small child with cystitis, and then it was in high school, it was allergies, and then the IBS came, and then asthma, on and on and on. And then with these injuries, I had the chronic back pain and sciatica. And I I trained as a trauma counselor because that was really my experience. So for 30 years, I trained and learned different modalities and techniques of how to deal with trauma. And I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of writing. I went on silent retreats. I did a lot of yoga and Pilates. Like I think probably all of you here have tried lots of different things to fix and change how we feel. And then about 10 years ago, I came across a new paradigm in psychology. It's called the three principles, and I'm happy to answer questions and dive into that a little bit deeper. But it really changed a lot of things for me. You see, I thought that my pain and my physical issues were a result of my either my injuries or my body malfunctioning or something going wrong or just, Murphy's Law. I didn't know why a lot of it happened. I got told by doctors and chiropractors and osteopaths, they would give me explanations sometimes, but it never really made sense. And then the pain would go away and then I would get, something else would come along, and it was coming and going. And I just thought, this is my lot in life and I just have to deal with it. And then when I came across this new paradigm in psychology, I did a 6-month course. And at the end of the course, all my pain went away. And then my IBS went away. And then my allergies went away. Right? And it was amazing. And I hadn't done the course in order to get rid of my pain because I didn't know my pain and my physical issues could go away. I just thought it was something I was going to have to put up with for the rest of my life. So I got really curious. What was the connection between what I'd been learning and why I was now pain-free? And I've been pretty much pain-free, physical issues free for about 10 years now. And so I started to look at the mind-body connection, particularly when it comes to stress and anxiety. So with stress and anxiety, I'd already learned as a trauma counselor about the fight or flight response, and I'm sure a lot of people here know about that. And so the fight or flight response was designed to last for about 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, you should be able to get out of that burning house or out of the car accident or climb a tree to get away from the tiger. Whatever it is that set the stress response off. And it takes about 72 hours for all that adrenaline and cortisol to leave the body and go on. And in 72 hours, you should be able to face another emergency. So I was sitting in class learning this, and I thought, hold on a minute. My clients aren't sitting in stress for 20 minutes. They're sitting in stress for like 2 hours, 6 hours, 18 hours a day. I shared this with a client once, and she said, I've been feeling like that since I was 10 years old, full of adrenaline, full of cortisol, never feeling safe. And as I started to understand this more, I saw that was true for me too. Like I said, I went through a lot of violence in my 20s, but I didn't feel safe, like at school. I didn't feel safe walking into a party. I didn't feel safe, walking down the street. I was so nervous about what you thought about me, about making a mistake, about not doing it right. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I don't know if any of you can identify with that. And this kind of put me into a place where there was kind of a mild river of misery, of anxiety was kind of like just floating around in the background of my life all the time. And I see now that all the physical issues I was having was in response to this constant state of not feeling safe and feeling anxious. So what I started to see was that the physical issues I was experiencing were really more like signals. I see them as signals today. They were signals trying to get my attention. What was it trying to get my attention about? I think it's because I was up in my head so much and I wasn't present that my body was screaming at me. You see, I'm going to call it the innate well-being system. We all have this innate well-being system where underneath all the noise in our minds, and we have innate health. Everybody has innate health. No matter what you've been through, no matter what you're dealing with right now, underneath the noise of all your thinking, you're okay. You can't be broken and you don't need fixing. These were new ideas to me because for the longest time, I thought there must be something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my body. I've got to fix it, do something. And like you, I had the chiropractic appointments. I had the yoga mat. I had the massage machine. I had, I had in fact, I had a monthly chiropractic appointment for 25 years. And I would go more often when I had a flare-up, which was about every 4 to 6 weeks. My back would go out and I'd be lying on the floor in agony. And it's exhausting, right? It's absolutely exhausting having to go from one flare up to the next flare up to then the allergies are kicking up and then it's the IBS and then it's back to the back pain. It's absolutely exhausting. And I saw that when my thinking slowed down, when my mind started to get quiet, when I started to understand how it works, my pain started to go away. My IBS went away, my allergies went away because my body didn't need to scream at me anymore because I was more present. And the crazy thing is, it all started to happen when I stopped trying to fix myself. Because what happens a lot for me as a mind body coach is people will contact me and say, like, what do I do? What do I do? Tell me what to do. Right? They'll tell me about, they give me their long list of symptoms and what do I do? I'll admit right now, it's going to sound infuriating when I say there's actually nothing to do. Because I think for perfectionists and people with chronic physical issues, we want something to do. Tell me what to do. What I started to understand was my body was reacting to my state of mind. And when I understood that my state of mind is really fluid, it moves, it goes up and down. Like we all have moods, we all have consciousness that is changing all the time. And as our thoughts go through our minds in those different moods and those different levels of consciousness, we make different meaning out of our thoughts. So I could wake up with a thought, and I don't know about you, but I used to wake up in the morning, and the first thing I would do was I would check my body to see how much it hurts, right? I would scan my body, like, how much does it hurt? What have I got to do today? How am I going to get through the day? Oh my gosh. And I would put myself into fight or flight before I even put my slippers on, right? So in that low mood, as that thought goes through my mind, what is wrong? How much does it hurt? How's my back? How's my stomach? In a low mood, I would make a lot of meaning about my thoughts and about the pain and what I had to do today. It was too much. It wasn't fair. It was like, oh my gosh, I better make another appointment. I was constantly monitoring my symptoms, monitoring how I felt about my symptoms, right? It was like it kind of became a lifestyle. It kind of became my identity. And so I was in like stress mode before I got out of bed. So how am I possibly going to have a reasonable day if I'm already on edge thinking about how am I going to manage this? I was a school teacher for 5 years before I was coaching full time. And I remember I used to go to school with a big scarf, even in the summer in California, with a hot water bottle to strap it to my back. And I'd be teaching, like holding this water bottle and this scarf on, like wrapped around my middle because I'd be bent sideways or my stomach was upset. Excuse me, kids, I just got it. I'll be back in a minute. You know, I would try to navigate my life like that. And I had this story in my head that my body was weak, it was going to give out at any moment. And those were the kind of stories and thoughts that I start noticing were dragging me down. There's a real heaviness to those kind of stories. There's an urgency, there's an intensity. When you live with a story that says your body is weak and you can't trust it and you can't rely on it, that's a very, very heavy weight to carry around. No wonder we're exhausted all the time, right? So as I started to make this connection by understanding thought, so like I said, there's nothing to do. Why is there nothing to do? Because what I learned about thought is that it's a spiritual energy. And those people that know me, this is when I start moving my hands around because I have no idea what I'm saying right now. Who can explain spiritual energy, right? But spiritual energy is constantly moving through our minds. It doesn't get stuck. I know it feels like it gets stuck sometimes, but it's constantly moving. It might be repeating, but it's constantly moving through our minds, like a river, like clouds, like anything like that is going further on, or a ticker tape. Like if you ever watch one of those news cable shows that has a ticker tape of information along the bottom. The interesting thing about those things is they don't need you to read them to keep going. They don't care. They keep going with the baseball results, with the weather, with the financial reports. That keeps going. That's what my mind's like. And when I get stressed and anxious, it speeds up and it's going even further. And that's what we're feeling. We're feeling our thinking all the time. And if my thinking is speeded up, it's full of anxiety, it's thinking about my symptoms all day long, there's no way I'm going to feel good. It's actually a very reliable system. Like, think about it. If you're thinking low, miserable, grumpy thinking all day, you cannot be in a good mood, right? It's just the way it works. And vice versa, if you're thinking happy, joyful, abundant, grateful thoughts, you cannot be in a low mood. It's a very simple, reliable system. So as the quality of my thinking started to get better, because and I think it's kind of secular. As I started not having so much physical issues, I started feeling better. My quality of my thinking got better. So therefore, more physical things got better. And I started to notice this improvement, like going in a positive direction. And now, like I said, it's been like this for about 10 years. And in the 10 years since I discovered these ideas and my pain went away, I've written 4 books. I've led retreats around the world. I speak at conferences all over the place. I've helped clients all over the world with all kinds of physical issues and health anxiety and all other kinds of anxiety and mental health issues as well. And sometimes I get a call from somebody and they say, have you ever worked with someone with plantar fasciitis? And I remember thinking, oh, Google that. What is that? It's foot pain, right? Or, all kinds of like neuralgia type stuff. And like I said, I'm not a doctor. But what I found was it didn't actually matter what the physical condition was. And I'm sure everybody has been checked by a doctor. Please go to a doctor if you're not sure. Like I said, that's not my specialty. It's always worth getting checked out. But if the doctors have told you that there's actually nothing wrong or they can't find anything wrong, what if your brain and your body are working together through wisdom to let you know that you are too much up in your head? And if you're more present, then it won't need to scream at you. Just think about that for a minute. What would that be like for you? So that's what happened for me. And that's what I write about in my books and do videos about and work with clients is no matter what they're dealing with. And I'll just finish with this. After COVID, I was working with a young man. He was in the UK as a businessman, and he'd had long COVID for 2 years. And for those 2 years, he barely left the house. He had only gone out the house for a medical treatment. He hadn't played with his kid outside. He hadn't driven a car. He has a very successful business, and his wife had been pretty much running the business while he was recovering. And he told me that he lived near Oxford, so that Oxford University had a long COVID unit, and he'd been in there for treatment. And what they taught him was about pacing. I'm sure many of you have heard, about pacing yourself, because if you have limited energy and fatigue is a big problem, then you have to be careful about how you're going to use your energy. So they taught him about pacing, about using his energy wisely. And we started to have a conversation about this. He hired me as a coach. And we came up with a really interesting insight. And we started to see there's a big difference between outer speed and inner speed. Because you could have someone who's pacing themselves and resting a lot of the day physically, but they're on their phone, watching Netflix, texting their friend, right? The brain is still going 100 miles an hour. And that's what I found with most people I talk to, especially with anxiety, is the mind is going really fast. You might actually be lying in bed or on the sofa, but what's going on inside your mind? So he and I worked on getting his inner speed slowed down as much as his outer speed. And by understanding his ideas, and it was quite amazing. He started to get his energy back. He started to feel better. And I say after 2 years of not leaving the house, pretty much, he was able to go into his office. And I remember when the first day he went into his office, he kept saying to me, "It's a big day. It's going to be a big day." And I'm like, "No, if you keep calling it a big day, you're putting a lot of pressure on that. That's, going back into old habits of, getting up in his head and imagining what his colleagues and his employees were going to say and where was he going to go for lunch?" And it's like, just slow down. It's just, yeah, it's important. You're going to go into work for the first time, but he was just going to go in for a few hours, and he did it. And then he did a few more hours the next day, and he gradually built up and he managed to get back into business. And then about a month after we finished working together, he had a family wedding in Sweden. And he's a very green type person. He didn't want to fly, something to do with carbon footprints. I didn't quite understand. But he went on the train from London to Sweden. And he sent me pictures of him on the train, enjoying going sightseeing with his family, dancing at this family wedding, and got home in one piece and having had an amazing time. So, and he's now flying around the world and having a great time. So I recorded a video with him, an interview. It's on my YouTube channel. Maybe I'll send it to you guys afterwards this week. But I just shared that story to show you that people do get well. You can get well no matter what we've been through, no matter what's happened to us, whatever we're dealing with right now, we can never be broken. You yourself don't need fixing. Maybe your body is suffering in different ways, but even that can get better. So I'm going to leave it there. And I want to open it up for questions. Some people sent in some questions, which I'm happy to read out. But if anybody has anything they want to ask right now, put your little hand up. I love questions. So please feel free to whatever aspect of anything I've talked about or whatever's going on with you, feel free to, to jump in and ask something if you like. I can start with reading one. Like a lady just emailed this to me because she couldn't make the session. So she said, let's see, who's this? Jenny. So Jenny says, I was really hoping to make the session, but I'm not going to be able to if blah, blah, blah. I'd be interesting to ask, is when recovered a good amount? And she says, I'm able to do a lot of normal things now, including even some exercise. How do you get fully recovered? I feel like I still get tired more easily, and I still constantly think in my head about whether any potential activity might be too much. Like my brain is constantly weighing things up and making calculations. Some amount of this is helpful for gradually getting back into things, but I think it's getting to the point where it could be unhelpful. Basically, how to stop overthinking. It's a great question. Thanks, Jenny. How to stop overthinking. And I think that's really, that is what can really stop us from recovery going forward. Because, like I said, if we're thinking about symptoms all the time and we're constantly checking our bodies, checking in with how we feel, checking in with how much energy you have, then that might logically make sense because you've got to calculate, like she says, she's calculating how much to get through the day. But that calculation is based on I'm going to call a guesstimate, right? Because it's not like in your car you have a gas gauge, where you have a half tank, you have a quarter tank. I don't know how you could actually gauge energy in a body other than based on your experience. But all of that is happening in my head. All of that is really me trying to work something out. And I was always trying to work something out. So I don't know about you guys, but when I'm trying to work something out, it has a certain feeling to it, right? It has a feeling of intensity or urgency, or there's a heaviness to it. Working something out like that, which probably doesn't have a concrete answer, it's kind of a guess at best, has a kind of tension to it. And that's my, just mute. Um, that's my clue. When thinking has tension to it and heaviness and urgency, that really is my clue that that thinking isn't worth listening to. And you say, yeah, but I've got to work out my day. I've got to, well, in a clearer mind, you're going to be able to do that. But if you're wallowing or circling the drain, as it were, right, that is probably not a good place to try and work things out because every other time you've done that, how has it worked out? Right? Every time I would go down that same rabbit hole, it would always come out the same. I'd get agitated, upset, blaming other people, right? Or some people are blaming themselves. I was a blame other people person, right? There's all kinds of things that start showing up and doubt and fear and insecurity when we go down those rabbit holes. What if you knew what the rabbit hole looked like and you could avoid it? And then you could see those thoughts go by. You see, when you become an observer of your thoughts, when you start to observe them and see that they're not actually you, you can choose which thoughts you listen to. I personally don't make a habit of listening to thoughts that are heavy and urgent and have tension anymore. I find them unhelpful, unreliable. And if I don't listen to them and I really step out of them, I get fresh new ones. Fresh new thoughts come in with more energy and positivity and lightness and possibility. Those thoughts are worth listening to. Those ones are worth following. So that's my quick answer to Jenny's question. So start seeing hands going up now, which is great. So it just says Kay. Kay, did you want to come on the screen and or ask your question?
Hi, yes. Hi. My
Hi.
name is Ksenia
Hi.
and first time caller. And you mentioned about slowing down your inner world.
Mm,
And I was going to ask if you had tips for that because I do find that hypervigilance shows up often.
mm.
And so like I know there's top down and bottom up, but any insight you have?
Yeah, you mentioned a really interesting word, vigilance. That hypervigilance is it's very significant, I think, for people who've had trauma. One of the symptoms of trauma is often hypervigilance. You know, people who've been through frightening experiences can get vigilant about their circumstances, like certain sounds, certain smells, places, people, you know, can be very overstimulating. And I certainly had that. The sound of footsteps behind me was terrifying for many, many years after I was mugged. But I did a lot of work and that kind of went away. But I think what happened for me is the vigilance went inward. The vigilance went into my thinking. And like I said, I did lots of courses and learned lots of modalities when I was a trauma counselor. And I got really good at what I call thought hygiene, right? Because I knew how horrible it is to have dark thoughts. You know, I can remember waking up and crying and for hours and still not having a reason to get out of bed. You know, I've been there for whatever reasons. You know, some of us have had some very difficult times and dark moments. And so because I didn't want to go back to that dark place, I got very vigilant about keeping my thinking positive. You know, like I've never played a computer game in my life, but I've heard of this game called Whack-A-Mole, like we like you know, like we're playing ping pong, you know, like constantly like negative thought, no, 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 couldn't have any of those negative thoughts, right? Got to be positive, affirmations, you know, expressive writing, and I was so busy doing all this, it was exhausting. Right? You know, I was meditating and writing and affirmations and you know, busy, busy, busy. And it all intellectually made sense because I was doing the responsible thing. But I see now that I was actually, and I'm going to use the word innocent, I was innocently keeping my nervous system revved up. Because I talk a lot in analogies, so I'm going to use an analogy here. Imagine you were babysitting, right? You're looking after a little kid and you put this baby, this little toddler, whatever, to sleep and you go off and watch TV or, you know, do what you do. And the kid starts, sorry, I need some props here. The kid starts screaming, there's a monster, there's a monster. Right? And you rush in with a frying pan and the carving knife and you're like, where is he? I'll get him. Right? You're going to freak the kid out because he's going to think, oh my gosh, the adult thinks that there's a monster. Right? He was a little not sure about this monster under the bed. And now if the adult thinks it's real, then it must be true. So all those tools and techniques I was using, I was innocently fighting the monster. I was innocently fighting something that I thought was real. And the more I fought it, and the more clever I got at my tools and techniques, I was ignoring thoughts, I was allowing them, I was writing them away, I was meditating them away. I was fighting like a shadow. Because maybe the little kid you were babysitting just saw a shadow on the wall. It's not real. And you calm him down. You say, look, it's just a shadow. Look, we can do bunny ears. It's okay. You're fine. You're safe. I never felt safe. And so I was constantly fighting, like Don Quixote, you know, fighting the windmills. So I don't use tools and techniques anymore. I don't have any tips for you of how to do that because if I did, that would be implying that there was something to fight, something to deal with. it's just a thought passing through my mind. And when you can see that it's just a thought, which might seem like a huge leap right now because it seems so real because your hands are shaking and you can't breathe and it's like, like a panic attack. It feels real, but we're only ever feeling our thinking, which is constantly moving. So any attempt to reframe it, control it, give it a name, a soundtrack, make friends with it, anything like that. It's like you're dragging the train back into the station to work out how to make it leave. Well, the train already left, the thought already left. And when you can see that that's how it works, it's constantly moving. That's why I say there's actually nothing to do. Because every every miserable thought we've ever had, every pain we've ever had, every ache, every dizziness, every heartbreak, every resentment, every bit of anger and frustration has moved through. And when I didn't understand that, it was repeating and repeating and repeating. And as I began to understand it, my mind started to settle. The pain went away. And now I promise you, I still have funky thoughts. I can still get angry or upset. I'm a human being. But it doesn't scare me anymore. And so I don't need to do anything to get rid of those thoughts. They're gonna move on their own anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's pretty revolutionary because, yeah, I wake up in the morning reacting to a dream where I was either afraid in the dream or very sad. And then my morning starts with me wondering what to do with these feelings. Do I journal them? Do I soothe them? Do I go for a walk and settle my nervous system? Like, what's the best right step?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that what you just said there at the end, that was really insightful because like I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I had to do my pain journey perfectly too. I had to do the right meditation and the right kind of writing at the right time, mindfully, whilst,
Hello.
right? So, yeah, this need to do it right. I've noticed that happens to me a lot with medical stuff. Like even if it's just like I broke my ankle last November, and it wasn't so much the pain. It wasn't actually that painful. It was a very slight fracture. But I was nervous about doing it the right way. Like, do I go to the emergency room? Do I not go to the emergency room? It's like, so when you have that kind of thinking, that you're constantly monitoring, supervising um, everything, right? Other people's behavior, how they spend their money, how I'm feeling, right? How they park their car, right? If you have a mind that's constantly monitoring and supervising everything, the brain is going to interpret that as danger. So if you start your day with I've got to work out the right way to do my day, the brain's going to interpret that as you're about to go into combat, and combat is dangerous. So it's already on alert. And when my brain is on alert, it tightens the muscles, it changes blood flow. So it's like I've shot myself in the foot, as it were, before I even got out of bed. So by understanding these ideas, my brain started to feel safe. My body starts to relax. Blood flow is flowing better. My stomach is processing better. My breathing's more centered. You know, my heart rate's slowing down. And and I don't need to do anything. I just get on. I have energy and time to live my life now. So yeah, thank you for that question. And if these ideas are interesting to you, there's a lot more to share. So I hope you'll be in touch. It is, you're right, it's revolutionary. Thank you. I think Angela was next. Angela, you have a question?
Yeah, my main problem at the minute, well, I'm being treated for anxiety, but my main problem, or well, I was diagnosed with post-viral syndrome as well in 2018. And long story short, I got the COVID vaccine, which really just was too much for my system, and I was sofa bound for a while, and anxiety developed out of that and things. But the main physical thing I have at the moment is actually being able to walk any distance. I mean, I can go out and I could do 5 laps around the house, but then how do I increase that without pacing? Because I know if I went out and tried now tonight to do 10 laps, it would really knock my nervous system just off the rails. So how do you build up, or make progress? Because it's a physical thing I really need to increase.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, and I'm sorry you're having to deal with this. It's, I know it's a struggle. It's frustrating. And I think the frustration is possibly what's leading to not making as much progress as you'd like to. So let's say you can do 5 laps around the house. Can you do the equivalent when you go out? Like the same amount of steps. Can you do that outside the house?
Yeah, I do outside the house, yeah.
Great, great. So I would say, and like I say, I'm no expert in particularly like long COVID and chronic fatigue. Like I say, I work with people with all kinds of conditions. So I'm more thinking about the mindset that we have here. You kind of said it yourself. How do I increase a little bit every day? Well, by increasing a little bit every day, right? I think you actually know what to do.
But then,
Yeah,
does that make you sort of hyper vigilant then, because you're thinking, right, I can now do 5, and then you think to yourself, right, I'm going to try 6, and does that make you more vigilant?
Only if you think it does.
Yeah, but the thing is, that if you overdo it, you do have effects. This is the problem.
Right.
If you do overdo it.
I'm going to separate the two things. Let's say the 5 laps around the house or around the neighborhood. See, there's the physical exercise, and then there's your thinking about it. It's the thinking about it that's creating the frustration and the exhaustion, right? What if you now? I'm just going to say it this way because some people say that sounds American, it sounds English. I don't know. I'm going to say, what if you didn't have anything on it? What if you didn't have any thinking about it? Let's say you could write it down if you want. Today it's, 5 laps. Tomorrow it's 6 laps. Thursday it's 7. I don't know what the days are in the numbers. That's up to you. And what if you didn't have any judgment about it? It's the judgment and the commentary about it that's creating the uncomfortable experience. And I know that I trust that your wisdom, that if it's too much, you'll rest.
Yeah, you see, the problem is, in some senses, you're living with frustration because you know that you physically can't do the things you want to do, and therefore you're sort of like living in a cage, really.
Yes,
because
but Angela, who created that cage?
Oh, I know it was probably me.
Right. So can we go with that then? I really thank you for saying that out loud. Right? I created a prison in my mind that my body was weak and I couldn't do anything, that my back was going to go out at any moment. It really limited my life. I got terrified to leave the house. And even if you had come to me and say, Hannah, let's go for a walk in the park. I'm going to a painting class. You want to come with me? I'd be like, no, right? Because I knew, right? But I didn't. I'd created a story in my head. And that story had created a prison for me. And when I started to see that it was only ever made of thought in the first place, there was no prison. Yes, we had physical limitations. But what if you put on your favorite outfit and you put some fun music in your headphones and you do your 5 laps and you're pleased with what you did? And tomorrow I might do 5.5. And that's all the thinking we've had about it. Go and watch TV, watch the Bake Off show, make dinner, play with your cat, whatever we're doing. That's my life. So, and then it's not anywhere on our radar until we put our walking shoes on and do it tomorrow. The frustration, the prison and that limitation that we've manufactured will start to melt away. You'll see that it's only ever made of thought in the first place.
What about this whole idea that you see that trauma is sort of stored in the body?
I don't say that.
I've seen that on, places that trauma is stored in the body and you have to do somatic exercises or things to get it out,
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Right.
It's a story. It's another story. It's a frightening story, actually. It's a very scary, frightening story that there's something kind of alien hidden somewhere in my body or my self-conscious, and I don't know where it is. Oh my gosh, that's the stuff of nightmares. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's how I was created. Because like I'm a little naughty, and so sometimes if someone says that to me, and I'll say, well, where is it hidden? Where is it stuck? Where is it holding? Is it in my elbow? Is the resentment of my mother? Is it in my knees? Is my trauma stuck in my stomach? Or maybe it's my neck where they hurt me, right? And people will say, no, it's not in the actual bones or your fascia or your lungs. I say, well, what is it? They say, well, it's a sensation. It's a feeling. Like, oh, how do you know you're having that feeling? It always comes back to thinking. A memory is a thought that was brought into the present. Catastrophizing about the future, about your walk tomorrow, is a thought that you're bringing into the moment. Our bodies only know the present. It can only react to the thinking we're having right here, right now. Now, if people want to believe that it's stuck in their bodies and stuff, that if that makes sense to them, that's fine. And then I'd want to say, how's that working for you? Right? It's a very heavy, heavy, scary story to carry around. And you don't have to. So if it doesn't work for you, then I suggest that you get a better one.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Angela, for your question.
Thank you.
Appreciate your honesty, and I wish you a beautiful walk tomorrow.
So do I.
Yay! Hey, Lolly, next.
Yeah, hi, Hannah, Lali Shuva. Thank you so much for this workshop. I feel it's 100% yes, but then it's like I have this thing where every weekend, even though I don't work, I get into anxiety, and the anxiety leads to like really, really dark thoughts and a lot of pain. I know it's kind of crazy in that what's the difference between a Saturday and a Wednesday for me in a lot of sense.
Okay.
And yet, interesting when you're saying, well, you don't do like techniques for things. I know.
Oh, did I freeze or is it? Oh no. Oh. Hi, everybody. I apologize. Zoom kicked me out for some reason. Can you hear me now? Lolly, you there? Shuva? Did I lose her? But before I got kicked out, I was hearing her ask about, oh, there you are. Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Wendy, can you hear me? No? I'm
A chat. Maybe she can't hear us either.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you now. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
So basically, that's it. My question is, even knowing, that this is me making it up, but it's still very real and scary. And it was interesting you saying, well, you don't do techniques anymore. So just changing the thought on it. So that it's not a direct question, but it's just like a situation, and what if you have any feedback about it.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating because you're kind of you're on the right track. You're seeing that there's actually no difference. And even if you did work, right? Even if you had a
Mhm.
9 to 5 job, what makes the weekend other than the meaning we've made out of it, right? Because in some countries, Sunday's the first day of the week, you know, in some countries, Monday is the first day of the week. So it's the meaning we've made out of it that's, you know, so that meaning is, or put it this way, no one else can get inside your head except you, right? That's your superpower. You're able to, um, you don't even have to change the thoughts. If you can see that they're moving and that they're constantly moving through, then you can have a whole new experience without needing to do anything. You just have to
But
get
if I don't see them moving on the weekends, it kind of like it takes over. It's almost like two people, or like Monday, I feel like a hangover. If I could sit back and watch it, I would have, you know what I mean? But it feels like they're bigger than me. They're not, I know, but it just I say to myself, they're not, and then there I am, you know what I mean?
right. So that would be a question of understanding. Like
Hmm.
when you know when a kid doesn't understand like it's a movie, they think they get scared and might hide behind the sofa. I know when I was a kid, I used to, you know, when Doctor Who was on, I would hide behind the sofa because it was too scary. Right? And and so, but as an adult, you know it's just a movie, right? So there's no need to be scared. You know the difference between a magician doing a magic trick and a kid will think it's, you know, magic. But we know as an adult, it's just a guy with a hat on and he's pulling the rabbit, you know, out, right? So, so what I'd say is the sorry, there's I'm just going to mute a few people. So everybody, if you could mute yourselves, I'm trying. Where's my mouse not working? There we go. When when I really see that it's just a thought, I'm not going to take it seriously. Because there's really technically no difference between like Sunday and Wednesday, other than the meaning we've made it out of. So when I see that I'm the one who's created that story, and it's actually no different, you will be able to get free of it. There's no difference between what is for dinner and where's this pain coming from. They're both thoughts traveling through my mind. It's the meaning I'm putting on it that's creating the experience. So what I suggest is you experiment because you probably have been upset on Wednesdays, right? And you've probably had
Hmm.
days where you were okay. Right? I had a client once and she had pain every other day. Right? So,
Mm.
and I said, but there's an odd number of days in the week. So does that mean on the next week, like the pain was on Wednesdays, but not on Thursdays? Right? And she started seeing like how made up it was. We make stuff up all the time. You are as safe on
Hmm.
Saturday and Sunday as you are on Wednesday, unless you don't think you are. Because safety really is a state of mind. Because there are people living in war zones who are at, you know, peace in their mind. And there are people who are just sitting on the sofa,
Hmm.
you know, um, where it's relatively
Yes.
safe in absolute anxiety. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. Thank you.
I apologize for the internet disconnection.
No, that's
Um,
fine.
let's see, I think A was next. I don't know who A is. A, are you there? No, maybe they're not there. So, let's see. Wendy, did you want to say something?
Sure. I really appreciate this conversation, and what it's bringing to mind for me is I've been a registered nurse for a lot of years. And one of the things that I was never taught in nursing school was that our psychological system was built to help have me thrive and strike equilibrium or balance, just as my breathing system, just as my digestive system, just as my cardiac system. So what occurs to me in some of the questions today is I don't sit here right now and go, gee, do you think I just breathed in enough oxygen? I'm not sure if do you think my lungs are getting rid of the carbon dioxide? I'm really not sure. Is it really working? I don't know. I need to control it. I need to buy a monitor and figure out I don't have to do that. And no one told me in nursing school or in health sciences that my psychological system was also geared for equilibrium, and that I didn't have to um if for instance my breathing system, oxygen, if I sneeze, I don't have a fit and fall into it and say, oh my gosh, I just sneezed and that was 3 seconds of time I didn't get oxygen. I don't have to worry about blips. So if I have a blip, say, Lolly, I hope you don't mind, if I have a blip on the weekend that says, oh, I'm sinking fast, it's really bad, it's going to be a bad time because it's the weekend, I might know that that's my sneeze, that's my psychological sneeze, and say, I'll get over my sneeze. I always do on Mondays. It goes away. If what I found this conversation that Hannah's talking about here, my need to be vigilant about my worries and my concerns went way, 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 way down, because I saw that worries and concerns are kind of normal. Sneezing's kind of normal. Running out of breath when running out of oxygen when I run, which I don't do very often. But if I were to run and I get winded, I know it's going to come back. So that's what I've learned about the psychological system that's revolutionary, is that new news, that it was just as reliable as my lungs and my heart and my stomach. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. Shoshi, are you there? Did you want
Yeah.
to?
Hi. First of all, thank you. There are many things here that
Mhm,
you kind of know, but you don't know. So it was a new way to look at it.
mhm.
My question is, well, this is a perfectionist question of what to actually do at the moment. But two things. First of all, when we react to something, we're reacting to something that really happened. Now, if it's once, then it's once. But if it's something that's going on again and again and again, which is nothing to do with me, let's say, so I'm constantly trying to deal with something that's real. But let's say I have my chronic fatigue and I can't deal with it. Okay, I'll give you an example. I have long COVID for 4 years, chronic fatigue. Now they're saying maybe it's MCAS, maybe it's POTS, maybe it's, all these things. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go on.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
then the thing, maybe hypermobility, and every second there's another one of these
Mhm.
strange things that you can't really diagnose, but maybe it's this medication, blah, blah, blah. And um, it's I have this long COVID, whatever it is, and I'm in bed for like almost 4 years, and I have my ups and my downs, but I have kids and they'll come in every day, right? And they need to eat, and I'm not able to give them the food. And then it goes into like this, thinking, obviously, like, so what am I supposed to do? For real, what am I supposed to do? That's my husband's not home. They need to eat right now. So obviously it's, you have to plan things. And if this is a situation, get someone to feed them. But there's always going to be things where it's just me. I'm responsible and I can't do it because I'm so fatigued. So how do I get rid of that thought? Like, this is something, it's a mix of my mind thinking that, every day I did this and then I crashed. on the one hand, but on the other hand, there's something like a responsibility, something that I kind of have to do. So I hope this was understood. This was just an example.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting when we use the word real, like there's something real to do. And feeding your kids, that who could argue with that, right? That's very real. But it's still your thinking about it that's creating the frustration.
Right.
So, and what one person has in, like, thinks of as real, the next person will have something else that seems very real to them. And I've had people tell me stuff that to them is very real, which makes no sense to me. And I bet my real stuff might make no sense to you, right? But feeding kids, everybody can see that's real, right? So actually not everybody would, but right? Because
Okay.
because I know people with children who in that situation would know it's their thinking. Nobody's disputing that the children need food. But no matter how real it seems, we can only ever be feeling or thinking. So in a situation like that, I'm going to resist giving advice because you actually said it yourself, work out a schedule. So I think deep down you know what to do. But like I was saying to Angela, you've got this situation with this, lack of energy and the fatigue, and you've got kids to take care of, and then there's all your thinking about it. And
Yeah.
right, and that's what's creating the experience. That's what you do have control over. Right? Because I had when I was I think I mentioned I was a school teacher, and I had a student. The school was very much an inclusion school, so we had kids with all different physical and mental abilities. And there was a girl in my 8th grade class who I don't know technically what her condition was, but she was on a breathing tube and in an electric wheelchair her whole life. She needed a nurse there in the classroom, and she had a student who would come in and help her with her books and stuff. Mentally, she was pretty alert. She could keep up with the classes with the rest of the girls, but she was completely dependent on help 24/7. Her name's Miriam, and I have her permission to tell this story. So Miriam, she was in this condition, and at the time I had a friend who was a physiotherapist for the school district, and I told my friend about Miriam, and my friend burst into tears. She said, "Oh my gosh, I was Miriam's physio when she was in 1st grade, and we were told that she probably wouldn't live past 2nd or 3rd grade, and here she was in 8th grade, right?" Now, I've been out of that school for 20 years, and Miriam is still alive and she's still doing great. And she found me on Facebook, and she saw that I'd started writing books. So she's now an adult. She's still in her wheelchair. She does nurses. She's still, she raises money, and she's, been to Disneyland, and she's traveled. And she got hold of one of my first book, and I have a photograph of her holding it. And she wrote me a message on Facebook Messenger, and she said, "When people meet me, they think my problem is physical." She said, "It's not. It's my thinking just like everybody else." I was like, "Miriam, you're a philosopher." So I'm not comparing anybody's condition with somebody else's, which one's bad or which one's worse, and who's got it, more difficult. And, she doesn't have children. But she doesn't get to have children. So everybody's situation is different. It's not about comparing. The reason I tell that story is because no matter what someone's physical condition or finances or limitations are, we are living in a thought-created world. what I do with that thinking is up to me. And so she had, and I'm not saying she is an angel by any means, because I've seen her complain about her nurses, and and they're, she can have a bad day and things don't always go her way, and she'll be vocal about it. But they actually did a documentary on her when she was in fourth grade, and I remember the interviewer asked her, "Why do you think God put you in this body in a fourth grade?" And she said, "I don't know." She says, "Maybe it's to help other people be kinder," or something like that. You know? So we all have something to challenge us, and it's different for different people. So what if my job is to have the best day I can with the limitations I have, that my body has, or my finances have, or what if I can be the best person who's lying in bed most of the day I can be? What if I can ask for help in the best way I can? I'm going to resist giving you suggestions, because I know you're dealing with it probably in a much better way than I could ever suggest. But that's what I would say is, whatever we're dealing with, there's the situation, and then there's our thinking about it. And that's what we do have control over. The frustration, the anxiety, that's going to make it worse. Or can we come back to the moment and see what can make it better? So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what came to me.
So you're basically saying to learn, first of all, how to enjoy the little things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to really feel them, not to just let them go and say, well, I used to do so and so and so, and now I can only,
Yeah, that's
do
gonna bring
whatever
it
it is,
down.
something very small. And
Yeah.
right.
To a lot of people with physical issues, and that's often a common thing. I used to be able to do this. Why? I want to get back my life. I used to be able to do that. Why can't I? Like, even just saying that, I didn't feel good, right? I can't feel good having those kind of thoughts. It may be true. We're not looking for denial here. It may be absolutely true that we can't do what we used to. I don't have chronic fatigue, but I can't do some of the things I used to do when I was a teenager and got old, right? So that's what if that's what life is like? That's what my life is like right now. And what if this is, making the best of what I do have, and not dwelling on what I don't have, what it should be, what it could be. That's only going to bring me down. And if living in my thoughts is actually what we have, I want that to be as nice as possible. So.
Right. It's just a bit hard to think. So, like, if I'm lying here for a few hours, and you're not doing anything because you're so fatigued, those horrible thoughts will always come anyway. But how much can you, like you said, you need to fight them, not fight them, but it's just there. And it's like hours and hours of, like, what do you think about for so many hours? So it's kind of a cycle.
Yeah, and I believe you, but it's not automatic, and it doesn't have to be. And so what? I found so what is a very spiritual mantra. So what if you had that?
Okay.
So what if you had that thought?
Good one.
Right? Because I'm not wishing you to have those, horrible thoughts, but even if they come, it doesn't mean anything about you. They're not you.
Yeah.
They're like weather passing through. Like I'm looking at Wendy's picture behind her head right now. There's some clouds in that blue sky, right? Thoughts are like the clouds going through the blue sky. And if you think about the sky, it can have clouds, it can have an airplane, a bird, flocks of birds, it can have a tornado. Whatever goes through the sky doesn't hurt the sky. The sky is always there, it's always blue. So underneath the noise that's going through your mind, you are okay. you can't be broken or damaged by those thoughts going through your mind. And like an example I would use is like you mentioned having kids. When kids are little, they will see something when they're like first learning to speak. They'll go, cat, ball, mommy, right? They're so excited about using their words. They like to label stuff, right? But as an adult, you know that it's a ball or a cat or daddy, right? So I don't have to label the things that are going through my mind. You'll know by how it feels. If that torrential rain of horrible thoughts is going through, I bet it doesn't feel good. The feeling of it not feeling good is your clue not to listen to it. You don't have to listen. And then the less you listen to it, it will fade away. The sunshine comes out and you're back to the blue sky. That's how it works. Like I remember leaving London Heathrow Airport one time and it was grey and raining and bump, bump, bump through the clouds, blue sky. So there it is. It's always there.
True.
So I would
Okay,
get curious
thank you.
and just experiment. Oh, there's the I don't have enough energy thought. Oh, there's the how am I going to get up and feed the kids thought. There's oh my God, the kids are going to be home soon. How am I, oh, there's that thought again. Right? So what? Boring, heard you before, right? If you can play with it, get your sense of humor back. That's, there's nothing more healing than a good mood. Right?
True.
So anyway, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, I wish you well. Did A go away? A had her hand up earlier. I don't know where she went. But I can keep going if anybody else has any questions, if anybody else wants to ask anything. No? Oh, I love questions. Well, okay, so all I wanted to finish with is if these ideas have been really weird and revolutionary, to quote one of our friends, then there's plenty more. So please, if you want to hear more about this, you can find me on. We all have my email now, anyway, or you can find me on Facebook, or I have a YouTube channel with success stories and interviews and all kinds of stuff. Like I said at the beginning, I have a membership group, and the membership group meets. We have 3 live sessions a week. We have a book club. We have guest speakers. We do Q&As. We do coaching demos, and there's lots there for everybody. And all the recordings are put in a forum. So if you miss anything, that you can always go and watch the recordings on the forum, and post questions stuff there as well. I've written 4 books. The one that might be interesting to you is called Painless. It's actually a novel. And so the characters do the falling down and the searching and the getting up and the happy ending. If novels aren't your thing, I have a textbook. This textbook is called Beyond Diagnosis. Both of these are on Amazon. And Beyond Diagnosis has just been turned into a research paper, and it's in peer review now with the American Psychological Association. So I'm very excited to hear any results about that. Should be coming soon. And so if you have any questions or you're looking for more support, coaching, anything like that, please, you have my email. And I'll send this recording out. I have all your emails, and so I'll send it out to you, and we'll post it in a couple of places too. So yeah, I see 2 hands. Becca and Dan, did you want to ask something? Is that Dan? Hi, Dan. Is he there?
Hi. Hi, Anna. I
Yeah,
can
hi.
have a
Hi, so I have like a wellness center and we have neurofeedback and injury work. So I have a gentleman, pardon me, he was in the Gulf War. He's been like a firefighter. So he's came in a few times. He's like, I'm just spinning, I'm just spinning, I'm just spinning. So would you recommend I just send him to your website or send him a video? Because he's got such intense experience. I, I think oh boy, this is different, you know? So like I've been a police, I've been a firefighter, I've been a this, I've been in that, like just treat him like anyone else, huh? And so I'm just like, well, if he's spinning, oh, that's kind of his head spinning, then I just kind of went to fear. So I think I sent him, like told him about your book or something. So I guess I need to get more connected, how to connect you with people. So I think it scared me. So then I'm like, oh, it's spinning. Well, that's worse than I'm used to dealing with.
Right.
So
But
I guess
the reason he's
point me in the right direction somehow for that
yeah.
person.
Please sending in my direction. I'd be honored to help and talk with him. But the whole spinning thing, you know, I've met people who've never left, you know, their sofa and the confines of their house, and they can spin out of control because it's more to do with misunderstanding how experience is created. Now, surely he's been through some you know, very difficult times, and there is definitely a whole understanding there with trauma, but he's feeling his thinking just like you and me. So as the
Okay.
helper, you don't have to be scared by it because he's caught up in an illusion like you and I can be, right? So if you got scared about his spinning, you're caught up in illusion as much as, you know, as like we're not comparing, but that's what's happening. We're either up in our heads trying to work it out, or we're present, you know, present in the moment where we're safe and we can be more, have clarity and be more helpful. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
That
for
makes a lot of
what
sense.
you're doing, and yeah, let's talk. And then Philip, did you have a question?
I wanted to, oops, I don't know. There. Well, it's backwards. I wanted to thank you very much for this book, Beyond Diagnosis. And I just wanted to say thank you very much and
Oh,
send you and everybody on the call love. My head was trying to slow down a bit as you were talking. And it's always so much of trying to figure out stuff. And I was so thankful you repeated, just let go of figure it out.
yeah. Oh, thank you.
I want to join your group
Appreciate
when
that, Philip. Thank you.
Are you going to have this available so I can
Yes.
play it for some friends by chance?
Yes. It's been recorded.
How long will it be? How long will it be up once you send it out? You know.
In the next couple of days. Yeah, be very quick.
But I mean, once you send it out, will it be up for a month or,
Oh,
or something?
forever. It's yours to keep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. So nice to meet some new friends. And say, if you have any questions, feel free to you know, email me or reach out on Facebook or wherever you found me. I'd love to hear from you. So, all right, take care. Bye.